Hello everyone and welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. It's an early Monday morning and I hope you're all doing well, having a great start to the week. Welcome back from that weekend action. Plenty of action there, including the El Clasico in the Supercopa de España there as Barcelona thrashed Real Madrid 5-2. The second time this season that Barcelona have handed Real Madrid a beating. The first encounter being in at the Santiago Bernabeu in a 4-0 victory for Barcelona there in the Spanish La Liga. Anyways, away from that, Manchester United overcame Arsenal to knock them out of the FA Cup there in the third round of the competition. Of course, it's a game that has generated a lot of debate, especially around the referee and Andy Madley, who I thought did have a poor performance on the day. He had a lot of things going wrong for him, especially as far as judgment goes in terms of the decisions that he did make, including the sending off of Diego Dalot, many of whom thought that he got that one wrong. Well, I think personally, when you look at the letter of the law, I think he judges that second tackle to be a bad intent, and then he dishes out a yellow card. Maybe, given that there was no contact between Diego Dalot and I think Gabriel Martinelli, he could have easily waved it off with a warning and then let the game flow. However, his assistants, perhaps the linesman and maybe the fourth official, if he had seen the incident much closer than him, would have guided him before he dished out that yellow card. But it looks like they also did him no favors, and he ended up sort of getting his name dragged in the mud. And then, of course, there was an incident involving Bruno Fernandes there that called for what would have appeared to be a free kick. I think I do not remember the Arsenal player that was running behind him, with whom they have slight contact, and then he hits the floor before meeting that pole. Now, of course, it was another contentious decision. One would have thought it would have been a free kick, but also I thought it would have been harsh if it had been issued as a free kick. Reason being, I do remember an Arsenal game against Wolverhampton Wanderers when a penalty was awarded against David Luiz versus Raul Jimenez. Now, David Luiz was running back into the box, and then as Raul Jimenez is running towards the ball, gets in accidental contact with that of David Luiz. Zero intention of David Luiz at that point to make contact with Raul Jimenez. Raul Jimenez unaware at the distance between him and David Luiz, and then that was awarded as a red card, I think, for David Luiz, and then subsequently a penalty, which I thought was a harsh decision at the time. So for me, it would have been slightly a similar incident should that have been awarded as a free kick. Now, perhaps what aggravated the situation was the yellow card that was dished out to Bruno Fernandes in the aftermath of that particular incident. One, you have a player who feels frustrated by the decision you just made not to award him a free kick. Two, and then of course he overreacts. We are all human beings. We understand the emotions of it. Although many would argue that Bruno Fernandes, as captain, as leader, would have reacted much better to the incident for him not to get booked. So there's that school of thought. But then, of course, I think he throws his boot on the floor upon picking it up to justify to say there was conduct. That's how I lost my boot, or that's how my boot flew out of my foot, and blah blah blah. And then the referee feels that his reaction is completely unnecessary, so he goes ahead to book him. And so again, in that particular incident, he did not do himself much favors. And really, for that particular incident, I wouldn't really blame the referee, because again, he awards the yellow card for Bruno Fernandes' reaction, much less to what some would allege was Bruno Fernandes's, falling over to the ground in seeking of a free kick. So again, that's the point I would have thought maybe the assistants, maybe VAR would be speaking in his ears to say, look, there was a bit of conduct. We do agree with your decision not to award a free kick, but maybe the yellow card, you shouldn't be giving a yellow card for this particular test incident. But anyway, again, it was a big game for Andy Madley, game of emotions, two rivals coming uh, against each other, but the referee out of the story, I did think that Manchester United deserved to go through at the end of the day because they played a good chunk of amount of time, including the whole extra time, with a man less following the sending off of Diego Dalot, and Arsenal did not create enough chances for them to warrant it to win the game. Now, they did create some chances because Martin Odegaard, I think, hit double figures in terms of chances created in that particular match. But Arsenal's lack of a striker did continue to exhibit itself in this match. Kai Havertz missing two clear-cut chances where you think he could have converted to give Arsenal a better result, but that did not come to pass. I mean, he's not typically a striker. He's a hybrid of a striker, midfielder, half striker, that kind of thing. So in the last couple of games where they've created chances for him, we do remember that chance against Newcastle where instead of heading the ball, it hits his shoulder. I think the ball took a slight deflection before reaching him, so you wouldn't really blame him that much for it. But again, given the run of things, how they've come in recent times, he will be pinned for missing chances. Now, then you had your only striker who was available in Gabriel Jesus get injured. He was stretched off the turf with what appeared to be a dangerous knee injury. So there's that huge concern. The advantage for Arsenal is that the January transfer window is still open if they do need to make any moves to sign a striker. So I think I do not know whether it qualifies to be called a blessing in disguise for Gabriel Jesus to have suffered an injury in that particular moment, because then it sort of puts more pressure on the Arsenal board to support Mikel Arteta by getting in a striker. Well, in the press or in the media, he does not really, he sort of evades that argument that they do need a striker. I think deep down inside he knows it. He's just being protective of the club and the whole image of the club in responding to that particular question. So again, if they had converted their chances through Kai Havertz and maybe one for Declan Rice, that header that he got a goalkeeper save, we wouldn't perhaps be having this debate. But the mere fact that they are not converting the few chances they are creating, of course, then the debate keeps on coming back and back. So there is that, and it's not going to go away. A conversation of Arsenal needing a striker is not going to go away. A conversation of Arsenal needing another attacking winger who can add goals to the game, who can create more chances, is not going to go away, especially in the absence of Bukayo Saka, who is now injured, especially bearing in mind all the injuries they've had to suffer. Last I checked, I think Arsenal have had up to as many as 19 or 20 individual injuries this particular season. So they did come in the game with Ricardo Carafiori ruled out with a muscle injury. Then you had Gabriel Jesus go off through injury and all these kinds of things. So then you had Jorginho. Maybe it was cramping given the amount of time he had played, but towards the game, he did communicate what seemed to be a muscular problem before being withdrawn. So there's all that. So a lot of people are going to think maybe Mikel Arteta got so many things wrong in terms of decision making. Maybe he didn't withdraw some players early enough, but I do not think it boils down to that. For me, it boils down to the missed chances that they did create. And then, of course, the Manchester United goalkeeper, kudos to him, because he does save a penalty from Martin Odegaard. He does make that save from a Declan Rice header, and then he keeps United in the game. United kept themselves in the game, similar to what they did against Manchester City in that 2-1 victory in the Premier League in the Manchester Derby. They, after going a goal down, they kept themselves in the game until late on in the game when they did find the equalizer, I think through Bruno Fernandes's penalty, and then Amadou Diallo goes on to win the game for them. So yesterday they did just that. Of course, Arsenal did not do themselves any favors on the other side of the pitch, but Manchester United stayed in the game. They went on to create some few chances that they also squandered, but that notwithstanding, they did just enough to stay in the game. And eventually, things went in their favor. They go on to penalties. Kai Havertz has his penalty, saved. Man United convert all their penalties, and the rest is history because they advanced to the next stage of the competition after a 5-3 victory on penalties that preceded that 1-1 draw after extra time. So clearly, that's it. There, that was a big result of the weekend. Of course, so many talking points. We cannot digest them all in this short morning video. But another key result that I did think, is it Tamworth or something like that? That team forcing Tottenham Hotspurs into an extra time play on. I mean, we're talking about a Tamworth team who train just twice a week. They train just twice a week. Most of their players are not the professional players that you know. These are people doing their odd jobs and that kind of stuff. Then they come in and play a game of football. I mean, there's 100 places difference in terms of league standings between Tottenham and themselves, but they managed to force Tottenham into that draw in normal time. It was a goalless draw, and then of course Tottenham eventually win it in extra time there. 3-0. So, but anyway, that was just by the way. But I think Mikel Arteta has a lot to check with himself, especially as far as cup competitions are concerned. Ever since he joined Arsenal, he did win that FA Cup. That's I think in 2020. But ever since then, he suffered quite a couple of knockouts as far as the FA Cup is concerned. 2021, he gets knocked out by Southampton at the fourth round. Then he gets knocked out at the third round by Nottingham Forest in 2022. 2023 gets knocked out by Manchester City at the fourth round. And then in 2024 gets knocked out by Liverpool at the third round. And 2025 he gets knocked out by Manchester United at the third round. Now, one would argue that maybe he's not had it in his favor as far as the draw goes. But I mean, the draw is what it is. You face the opponent you're given. If you're going to be the best, you have to beat the best teams, and he's not done that in cup competitions. Now, for me, this sent memories of Arsene Wenger's period where Arsenal, between January and February, would crash out of many competitions, including the UEFA Champions League, that is in Feb, and then they get knocked out of the FA Cup and they get knocked out of the Carabao Cup. Last week, they lost to Newcastle by 2-0 in the semi-finals, first leg of the Carabao Cup. So they are literally on the verge of exiting that one, and they are now out of the FA Cup. Anyways, do let me know what your thoughts are on all those things, on all those issues. What you think Arsenal would have done better, what you think Man U did well. For me, I thought, Harry Maguire was quite a rock in that defense. Mazzarri did well for me. Lisandro Martinez, kudos to that Manchester United defense. Manuel Agati in that midfield, I thought was really good in terms of winning the ball back, in terms of frustrating Arsenal or killing their build-up play in most cases. They force Arsenal to go wide, and when you force Arsenal to go wide, oftentimes they do not deliver the best results. They denied them creating chances directly from that midfield line. So they were being forced to go sideways to Gabriel Martinelli, to Jesus, and all that kind of thing. And then, of course, they wanted to float in that long ball at the far end of the forbidden area, and things weren't just falling in place for them. Anyways, do let me know what your thoughts are, and have a wonderful rest of the week. See you as soon as we can record the next episode. Stay blessed.